The host, his name is Sean Bell. He is a military analyst for Sky News. He is calling it a bluff. Well, not openly, but after you hear what he says, you will know that this is actually a hype that the West is trying to create in order to make Russia be afraid of what NATO and Ukraine are capable of doing. Because right now, Ukraine is gasping for oxygen, and NATO cannot deal with it anymore. Because it was never about NATO. Sorry, it was never about Ukraine or Ukrainian people. It was always about NATO, its ego. Let's actually take a look at this video first from Scott Ritter. He's talking about how it was always about NATO and the West.
NATO invaded Russia using Ukraine as a proxy. Let me just say it one more time so you understand the gravity of what I'm saying. NATO invaded Russia. The heartland of Russia, Kursk. NATO invaded. Has it sunk in yet what I just said? That's a game-changing event, Nima. Forget anything you thought about this before. It's over. It's done. Ukraine is dead.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the only outcome now. Ukraine is dead. Now the question is, does the West want to die alongside it? I spoke to a Russian official today, and he wouldn't get specific, but he basically said, this decision's already been made, and you'll know what I'm talking about when it happens. And it won't take too long for it to happen.
He's so right.
See, Ukraine and the West have been laboring under this perception that Russia's at war. I don't know how many times Putin and the Russians had to say, guys, we're not even close to being at war. This is a special military operation. We're sort of like tying one leg, back and one hand back and sort of hopping around. NATO invaded Russia. And so
his phone goes off.
I don't know who's calling me, but they'll have to wait.
But he's 100% true. I'll explain to you more in a second. Let's listen.
NATO invaded Russia. So this is going to bring about a terrible Russian response. It's the end of Zelensky's regime. It will not be allowed to exist. It's the end of Ukraine. Dmitry Medvedev hinted at what the consequences will be. Odessa, Dnipropetrovsk, Nikolaev, Kharkov, and now Sumy. See, Sumy wasn't on that map anymore, but now it is. This incursion into Kursk cost Ukraine Sumy. Russia's not going to give it back. It may have cost them Kiev. It may have cost them. And you say Russia doesn't want Western Ukraine. That doesn't mean Russia can't destroy Western Ukraine. And if you think there's going to be a city of Lvov left over when this is done, think again. Lvov is the heart of Banderist ideology, and Russia has now said it's over.
Yeah, it is over, and let me actually play a video from BBC, and then I'll play the video from Sky News. These are very, very important and significant developments we all need to hear. But before I move on, just to remind you guys, most of my viewers are not subscribed. If you happen to be one of them, consider subscribing. This is a report from BBC. Let's take a listen. But before I play this video, just to remind you one more time, Scott Ritter, he said that it was never about Ukraine or Ukrainian people. It was always about NATO, the Western countries. Now that Ukraine is dying, gasping for oxygen, NATO is providing the last bit of it before they will bury Ukraine. Literally, they're going to be burying Ukraine in just few months. Let's take a listen first from BBC.
What we don't know are the specifics of this. We understand that this will be used initially in aid of Ukrainian forces who are currently operating inside Russia in the area of Russian territory in Kursk that they've been holding since August. That is important for them because they are anticipating a Russian counteroffensive in Kursk, assisted by as many as 10,000 North Korean troops any day now. And so the arrival or the ability to use the ATACMS missiles to complicate Russia's planning will be important to the Ukrainians. Whether they are granted the permission to use it more widely in the future, well, we'll have to see. We don't know how many of these systems they have, and we also don't know exactly what the Americans are saying in terms of what they can and can't do with them. It is also possible that Britain and France may follow Washington's lead and grant permission for Ukraine to use the Storm Shadow missile also to hit targets deep inside Russia. None of these things in and of themselves can be regarded as game changers. They're not necessarily going to change the course of the war in any emphatic way, but I think Ukrainian officials believe that it is a necessary step and one that will somewhat redress the balance of military might at a time when they really feel they're on the receiving end of a slow grinding Russian advance in the east, and a feeling that Ukraine for the last several months has really been on the back foot.
Okay, so again, as you have heard what he is saying that basically the Storm Shadow missile will be used. This long-range new missile, ATCAM, I think that's the name, it will be used. Why? Well, this is because they want to make sure the death of Ukraine and his government is getting slower a little bit so that NATO could push Russia for a peace deal. As long as Ukraine is still breathing, there can be a peace deal. They can make Russia to come on the table. But if Ukraine is dead, I mean, there is no reason for Russia to come on the table and negotiate a peace deal or peace treaty, whatever, right? So this is why we are seeing, guys, these missiles are being provided to Ukraine now, because not because they want Biden administration want Ukraine to use it against Russia, but because they want this to be used as a bargaining chip. Because in the next few months, when Ukraine will collapse completely, there will be no bargaining, no negotiation with Russia. Russia will have complete and total upper hand. And so now they're pushing Russia and telling Russia that, look, we are still providing Ukraine with missiles and we can hit you. We can even hit Putin where you are, Moscow and Kremlin. We can hit you. We're going to hit you. You're going to hit you. You're going to hit you. You surrender. You come on the peace table, on the peace negotiation. And Russia is going like, no, do whatever you want. Pretty much what it is. So this is actually a bluff. This long-range missile is a bluff, even though they're so hyped up the Western media that, oh, this long-range missile can strike anywhere in Russia. But this is actually a hyperbole. These are all fake news. How do I know that? Well, take a look at this news from Sky News. They are actually exposing the West, their lies and this PR stunt. This guy, Sean Bell, again from the Sky News host, he is a military analyst for Sky News. He's telling what kind of long-range missile is this?
Military analyst Sean Bell, and that's the politics of all this. What about on the battlefield, the military side of all this? How significant could these missiles really be?
Yeah, good evening, Mark. I mean, the Army Tactical Missile System is an incredibly competent missile. You know, it's a supersonic missile, it's ballistic, it goes at least 200 miles, fearsomely expensive, over $1 million a pop. The challenge is, though, it's only got a 500-pound warhead, so it's relatively small bang for your buck. And also, there's just not that many of them available. So it's hardly going to be swamping any of the Russian systems anytime soon. The other challenge is you need to be able to see the target. I know that sounds obvious. If you've got an anti-tank weapon, you just get on and use it. 200 miles away, you can't see the target. You need satellite technology. You need a whole load of complex work and therefore you're probably going to use them against logistics hubs, airfields, headquarters. The one positive we're seeing already, though, is the Russians have already moved all their fast jets away from that 200-mile radius. We're seeing the radius here. Now, that is an easy way of protecting their high-value assets. The downside of the protection for Ukraine is it's going to make them a lot more difficult to do air missions into Ukraine because you've got a lot further to go.
Okay, so basically these missiles, they cost a lot of money. They can only travel a few hundred, I think 200 kilometers. That's a very short distance. They are very few in number. They will find it very hard to enter into Russian airspace because of Russian defense system. Air defense system is so solid. Therefore, what he is saying, Sean Bell here, is that this is literally nothing. Russia should treat this just like a fly on the face and be like, pooh, pooh. Right? Well, it was obvious from the very get-go that the West will not, especially, I mean, the NATO military alliance will not be so tough on Russia because they know who they're dealing with. They're dealing with a country that has over 6,000 nuclear weapon. But guys, when we see this news from BBC and CNN and most of the time this mainstream media talking about this long-range missile and that Russia is on the back foot, Russia is getting defeated by Ukraine and Ukraine is winning, these are all PR stunt. Let's take a listen a little bit more from him because he's going to be talking more about this particular missile.
Yeah. And if Putin did want to, I mean, it's not clear that what he'll do, but if he did want to act in response, what are the likely options for him?
The trouble has been looking at this for a good part of the day, and I have to say, I think away from the banter, away from the rhetoric, I think it's highly unlikely he's going to do anything, to be honest. His number one priority at the moment is focus on the 20th of January. Why is that important? That's when Trump comes in, potential for some talking. He wants to maximise the amount of territory he gains from there. We're seeing 1,500 casualties a day on average, massive cost, North Korean troops, mercenaries, the like. It does seem that he's absolutely all out to achieve his objectives on the ground. It doesn't look like there's going to be any other specific tangent it's going to take as a result of this.
Right, and just finally, I mean, is there any suggestion about what Trump would he rescind the permission to use these? I mean, what do you...
The trouble is we expect them to be answered and made into prayer. That's been a lot of the news today. I have to say, there's not enough of them. They're not big warheads. I don't think they're going to be a game changer. And to be brutally honest, they shouldn't have been anyway. When the West was giving weapons to Ukraine, you shouldn't really give them lots of restrictions as well, because when you take the restrictions off, it becomes big news. The core issue is Ukraine has territory up in Kursk. The Ukrainians will want to hold that. Russia will want to get them out before any form of negotiation. What America's doing is doing everything possible to help Ukraine to hold out there until the potential start for negotiation.
So you have it there. Like they right now want to save Kursk's region from Russia, taking it away. This is the ultimate battle. This is what they're really fighting for. The NATO, the Western countries, Ukraine, this is what they're fighting for. It's the Kursk's region. If Kursk is gone, Ukraine will lose. Big deal. And that's not what the NATO, the Western countries, they want. This is why they're providing Ukraine with this kind of long-range missiles so that they can threat Russia. Hey, if you come close to us, try to take Kursk away from us. Look what we got from NATO countries. This is absolute bluff from the Western countries. This is a media propaganda. Russia is winning. This is the moral of the story. Every single day they're winning, and now they're eyeing for major gain before they call this a truce.